Japan is often called the land of the rising sun because it is made up of thousands of islands located at the far east of Asia, the direction from which the sun rises. Japan is a modern, thriving country, but it retains a long and esteemed imperial tradition. Japan has become one of the top international trading partners due to a high rate of investment in manufacturing, higher education rates, good relations between labor and management, increasing technologies, investment in research and development, and a large domestic market of consumers. Like the United States, Japan holds major economic and political power. However, it is very different from the United States in many aspects, such as government and culture.
Different system. In the United States, there's the president. In Japan, there's the emperor and prime minister. And prime minister can change really quick. They might have a short term.
Japan's government is a constitutional monarchy with a parliamentary government. Prince Komatsu Akihito is the current emperor, but he has very limited power. The prime minister is Taro Aso, and he is the executive leader. Government in Japan consists of a bicameral legislature called the Diet. The Diet is composed of the upper house of councilors and the lower house of representatives. It is similar to how the United States government is structured.
The Japanese economy experienced a miracle growth phase between the end of World War II up until the 1980s, making it the second largest economy in the world. The economy is highly efficient, diversified, and very competitive. The reported GDP for 2007 was $4,380 billion in US dollars, accounting for over 3.8% of the world's GDP. The recession has affected Japan, and the economy is expected to contract 5.9% in 2009 and stagnate in 2010.
The Japanese economy mirrors the American economy right now. It's very unstable. It affects my company, basically the ratio of the yen to the US dollars.
So where does the dollar stand right now? Ellen Braitman takes a look. Ellen.
All right, as we continue here this year-end review, and good year for the dollar against the euro, but not necessarily the case against the yen. Dollar this year down 19% against the Japanese currency, most in more than 2 decades. And what's happening there is speculation the series of Fed interest rate cuts that brought the benchmark rate essentially to zero will undermine demand for the U.S. dollar. So a year ago, a dollar bought you 111 yen. Today, it's going to buy you just about 90 yen. Yen was the best performer for 2008 among the world's 16 most active currencies against the dollar. So again, it wasn't just yen-dollar strength, yen strength against the dollar, but yen strength really across the board.
The government is seeking to use fiscal stimulus in an effort to boost the weakening economy.
Japan trades with nearly every country in the world. Since the early 1980s, Japan has consistently had a trade surplus, and exports contribute approximately a quarter of the nation's GDP. Japan is ranked third among the world's largest exporting nations, after the United States and West Germany. The current leading exports are transport equipment, electrical and non-electrical machinery, manufactured goods, and chemicals. Japan also has to import a lot of essentials such as mineral fuels, food, and raw materials. Japan continues to capitalize on the quality of its consumer goods and high customer satisfaction. It places a strong emphasis on the relationship between customers and its products in order to maintain loyalty among its consumers. Japan also excels in manufacturing and is ranked the world's leading manufacturer of electronics, ships, automobiles, iron, steel, and chemicals.
Japan is a member of several world and regional organizations in order to have better advantages in trading nations. These include the World Trade Organization, the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, and ASEAN +3. Also, Japan has signed a number of regional economic partnership agreements with various individual countries.
Foreign direct investment is a main focus of Japanese government since it is lower than many other countries. In 2007, Japan's foreign direct investment reached $22.2 billion, only 3% of Japan's GDP. Comparatively, Japan struggles to be as attractive as nearby China and Indonesia, mainly because of labor costs.
Some level of corruption is present everywhere, and Japan is not an exclusion. Dango, a Japanese term for bid rigging, is common in Japan, mostly in the construction industry, and has been a standard practice since the end of World War II. The Corruption Perception Index ranks countries from 1 to 10. 10 meaning zero corruption, which no country has attained, and a score of 3 or less, meaning a rampant disregard for the law as well as fair business practices. In its 2006 ranking of 163 countries, Japan got a 7.6, placing it at number 17, while the United States got a 7.3, placing it at number 20.
Offices in a Japanese office resemble an American classroom a lot of times. We all sit in one large room with desks facing each other. In Japan, they'll have like the director sitting in the front, facing everyone while he watches everyone work.
Usually probably 6 days a week, and sometimes on Sunday they have to go golf to socialize with people.
Just the overall friendliness and customer service aspects. There's no tipping in Japan, but it seems that the service you get is a higher quality than what you get in America. The cleanliness of the cities, there's little garbage or waste.
Japan's culture is considered a high context culture. High context culture tends to establish social trust first, put emphasis on nonverbal messages, and maintain long-term relationships. There are major differences in the business culture between the United States and Japan.
Japanese don't hug, and they might do handshaking, but no hugging. And there's the personal space, and depending on the person, they might have closer boundaries or more spacious, or I don't know, depending on the person. But usually Japanese has a little bit need more space than Americans, so you might want to keep some distance.
For example, nonverbal communication says a lot to the Japanese businessman. Just by a slight frown or tone of your voice, it can be obvious that you are uncomfortable.
I guess first thing you might want to know is how to exchange business card. And supposedly you're in Japan, you're American, and they give you a business card, and you're supposed to receive business card with both hands, 2 hands, not one. And after you receive, you have to keep it clean. Otherwise, it's really rude. They won't like it.
Wow.
And you don't want to misplace or anything like that. You might want to put in front of you on the table so that you can talk to them.
Another difference is that the Japanese are team-oriented people. They tend to do what is best for everyone as a whole. Also, many Japanese people do not say no directly because saying no directly has a negative connotation.
You're speaking Japanese, you don't have to say yes or no, but you can understand between lines if they're saying yes or no. And if you're speaking in English, it's always yes or no, right? So depending on what language you're using at the meeting, but usually even if they are using English, they're speaking English, they tend to not to say yes or no at the business deal. So you have to read the line between. So that can be confusing. Like American might say, "What is your answer?" And they say, "Well, we are explaining our answer, but there's the communication differences, so that can be a problem."
Japanese business ethics has evolved from the major religions and philosophies in Japan, such as Confucianism, Shintoism, and Buddhism. The religious dimension supplies a variety of concrete norms of behavior. Work is believed to be an expression of the great life force. The strong group orientation amongst the Japanese usually leads to loyalty and cooperation, but it can also lead to exclusivity, discrimination against outsiders, and the pressure to conform.
For Japanese, it's a collectivistic country. Everybody try to cooperate, help each other. So at work, they kind of create a sense of family. So if you go to work, your boss may be your father or mother, and your people below you might be your younger sister or brother or something like that. So they create a sense of family at work.
Western firms need to understand the long-term reciprocal ethics to have better results in their business ventures.
Well, I've been at my company for 5 years now, and when I first started working there on entry level, there wasn't a strong level of trust. The Japanese are big on seniority and putting in your time for your company. So as I've went through the years, I've been given a lot more responsibility, and there's a increased level of trust.
In addition to Japan having a large, dense population of over 122 million people in an area of about 377,000 square miles, there are many factors that makes Japan an attractive destination for international business. A strong economy, a stable government, and a rich and unique culture.
降り出した夏の雨が涙の汚ったずっと思い出とダブル映像秋のドラマ再放送